A year ago, I was standing here having been asked by Pure London to be a guest speaker and share my story of my journey from shopper to retailer to wholesaler. Terrified of my first ever experience of public speaking, I took to the stage and gave my presentation. Totally blown away by the interest shown in my story, now 1 year later, here I am again, having sworn that I would never put myself through this again. This time, however, I'm here to share my experience of export. I am, however, very much the new kid on the block with regards to exploring alternative markets to the UK. I should start by giving you an insight into the background of my business. I opened my shoe boutique in April 2010, importing unknown Italian and Spanish brands, many of which were exclusive to me in the UK. My original idea transpired from my favourite label, Luciano Padovan, a brand that I found whilst working in the south of France. Wherever I went, I was constantly complimented on my footwear, to the extent that the final decision to opening my own store was confirmed while walking through London in a pair of Luciano Padovan boots. A chap drove up to me, put his window down, shouted out, "I love your boots," and drove off. He's got a lot to answer for. After my first season of selling high-end killer heels, I saw a gap in the market for a stylish wearable shoe that would sit well alongside these stunning heels. I needed an elegant design to complement the brands that I was already selling, but something that those customers, perhaps not with the confidence to strut their style, would feel comfortable wearing, but something that they would still be noticed in. From there on, I considered myself to have been very lucky. I went to work on finding an Italian manufacturer and was extremely fortunate in finding my factory, a family-run business that's been manufacturing ladies' footwear for 35 years. Between us, we started on the Nicola Sexton collection. Using the factory's own last, I started to put my design onto their collection. Obviously very nervous for the first season. What would the general public say? Would they be happy to buy a collection by Nicola Sexton? Who is she? In fact, quite the reverse happened. The brand soon became the store's bestseller. Following 2 successful seasons, I was approached by a jewellery agent about taking the brand on the road. Always ready to give something new a go, I jumped onto a plane and made my samples. The rest, they say, is history. Within the first year, I had managed to secure 12 accounts within the UK. Not bad from a standing start. I was then introduced to the British Footwear Association and started discussing export. For me, identifying my market was easy. I'd had a lot of interest from my collection from American ladies visiting my store, who were very quick to inform me that there was nothing like this in the States. Many ladies bought in store, and then after returning back to America, started to reorder from my website. Delighted that whilst new styles were developed each season, they could always rely on staple styles with different accessories and colours complemented in the season's colours. My initial question to the British Footwear Association was, surely I should spend a couple of years developing the brand and the brand awareness within the UK. Certainly not, was their reply. There's no time like the present. Before I'd had time to think of the pros and the cons, I was part of the British Footwear Association's British edition stands at FM Platform in Las Vegas. Not only a fabulous experience in travelling to such a surreal place, a huge learning curve that not only benefited in me gaining invaluable experience in the world of export, but the knock-on effect to my retail store was phenomenal. Before I knew what was happening, I was a guest on the breakfast programme on Radio Suffolk, later followed by a 40-minute sofa interview with Leslie Dolphin, followed by newspaper articles and even a TV interview. The reasons for sharing this story with you is to ensure that whilst you are busy with preparing for export, you don't forget the publicity which is available for a UK operation whilst preparing for global trading. Whilst I had identified my overseas market, I was totally unaware of the Americans' buying methods, very different to that of the English, and certainly of mine too. When buying for my own store, whilst I may have a list of brands that I'm interested in, I will always be enticed onto a stand that looks a little different or catches my eye, not only with the product, but also by the visual merchandising. All set up in Las Vegas, with my section of the British edition stand looking as I thought, enticing to potential buyers, I was very disappointed at the lack of people walking onto the stand. First lesson learnt. Check out the buying methods of the country you're exhibiting in. Certainly at Platform, buyers tend to make appointments prior to the show, and actually 90% of the time, they only visit their appointments. No browsing, like us English. Oh, sorry, we've gone to the end. Okay, sorry. I returned, therefore, from Vegas without any orders, but with some contacts, mainly collected by standing in the aisle and talking to people as they walked by, handing out flyers. I don't consider the exhibition at Platform as a waste of time or money. I gained a huge amount of experience, and as mentioned earlier, the knock-on effect to my retail store was phenomenal. The most important lesson learned, however, was preparation prior to the show. For Vegas, I was busy with my costings and my marketing materials. But in fact, I should have been more concerned with identifying the stores that I could have invited to my stand, which isn't easy the first time around. So it's not just important to identify your market, but also, having decided the sector that you're targeting, make personal contact prior to the shows. I decided for me the best option was an agent for America. You do, of course, have two options, an agent or a distributor. For me, I wanted to keep control of where the brand was being sold and the prices that they're sold at. So after the initial contact with the stores via an agent, I want to keep the contact with them also. I guess I'm lucky, as my wholesale business started as an add-on to my existing business, although it soon became the largest part. Having been included on the British Footwear Association's British Editions stand, I was contacted by the UKTI, a fabulous agent who visited the store, and for once, I was being offered funding. Where's the catch? There is no catch. In my short experience of export, the support has been fantastic, not only on the financial side, but there is a wealth of knowledge on hand by agents who have years of experience in either working overseas or in export. I signed up to the Passport to Export scheme that the UKTI offer for a very small joining fee. Once on the scheme, to qualify for funding, you have to attend a 2-day workshop. A hugely beneficial 2 days with a fabulous facilitator who is able to walk you through every aspect of export from start to finish. I'd already attended my first overseas event and therefore had first-hand experience to share with my colleagues. But the importance of the workshop for those of you who are starting out is massive. The topics covered range from understanding the potential, looking at real-life case studies, which helps you to consider your own company's strengths and weaknesses, international communications, understanding the culture issue and how you may need to adapt and develop your product for different markets, selecting the right market for your product and researching that market, and most importantly, developing a strategic international trade plan. For me, the most important part of the workshop was pricing. I had incorrectly assumed that my recommended retail prices for the US market should be within a few dollars of what an individual would pay if they were to buy a pair of shoes via my website. Wrong. Different markets can demand higher prices, subject to different factors. Shipping, customs and taxes and exchange rates obviously forms an integral part of your export plan. After Pure London, I'm embarking on my second overseas trade show. This time I've chosen a smaller show, Seoul Commerce in New York, which I feel replicates Pure London. My agent's already identified a potential customer base and has telephoned each and every one to introduce the brand, the price point, and the place of manufacture. A totally different response this time to that by the buyers that we had seen in Platform. He's already generated an interest in the brand, and a large percentage of those called are attending the show, like the concept and are very happy with the price points. I'm now at the stage of sending line sheets through and making appointments for the show. Even those who are not attending Seoul Commerce are interested enough to ask for further details should they decide to visit. So for me, this just makes my visit far more exciting, but giving me more pressure to make the sales. I touched on visual marketing at the beginning of my presentation, and being a British brand, I've included British themes in my marketing materials to focus the mind. I hope that my presentation has helped in some way with your own questions or thoughts on export. I've managed to start the export programme without investing large amounts of money, to test the market and hope that if I should be asked to talk for Pure again, I'll be able to describe the orders that I've taken and share further knowledge that I may well have gained along the way.